Have you ever been afraid just for existing? For millions of Black people, that fear begins the moment they step outside. Racism is not always loud. Sometimes it doesn't shout, or curse, or point fingers. Sometimes it whispers through suspicious looks, tightened grips on purses, and questions that are asked only because of the color of someone's skin. Marcus Johnson learned this early, not from books or history lessons, but from experience. On an ordinary morning, with headphones resting on his ears and the city slowly waking around him, Marcus stepped out of his apartment to walk to the bus stop. He wasn't running, hiding, or doing anything wrong, yet every step felt measured, every movement carefully controlled. Because long before that morning, he had learned the unspoken rules of survival. Don't walk too fast, don't look angry, keep your hands visible, stay calm no matter what. As Marcus walked, he noticed it again, the way people watched him just a little too closely. The way someone crossed the street to avoid passing him. The way a police car slowed as it drove beside him. His heart began to race, not because he was guilty, but because history had taught him fear. A siren broke the quiet, and for a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The officer asked where he was going, asked for identification, asked questions Marcus had answered 100 times before. Marcus responded politely, carefully choosing his words, carefully reaching for his ID, because he knew how quickly a simple moment could turn into a tragedy. That fear did not come from nowhere, it was inherited. Marcus's story did not begin with him, or even with his parents. It began centuries ago, in 1619, when the first enslaved Africans were brought to America and stripped of their names, their freedom, and their humanity. Even after slavery ended, racism did not disappear, it changed its form. Laws replaced chains, suspicion replaced whips, and silence replaced accountability. In 1955, a 14-year-old boy named Emmett Till was murdered for being accused of something as small as a whistle. In 1968, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated for daring to dream of equality. History left scars, and those scars are still felt today. Later that night, Marcus sat quietly at home with his grandmother, Ruth Johnson, a woman whose life carried memories far older than his own. She had marched in the streets during the civil rights movement, standing face to face with police dogs, fire hoses, and hatred, believing that her suffering would lead to a better future. Marcus asked her if things had really changed. She paused before answering, her eyes heavy with both pride and disappointment. She told him that change had come, but not enough, and not for everyone. She reminded him that silence had always protected injustice, and that every generation had a responsibility to speak, even when it was uncomfortable, even when it was dangerous. Those words stayed with Marcus. Days later, he turned on a camera and began to tell his story, not with anger, not with accusations, but with honesty. He spoke about fear, about being judged before being known, about living in a world where simply existing as a Black man could be seen as a threat. His message spread, reaching people who had never experienced racism and people who lived with it every day. Some admitted they never understood before. Others said thank you for saying what they could not, because racism is not just about the past. It is present in the names we continue to say: George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Tamir Rice, lives lost not because of what they did, but because of how they were seen. Yet Black history is not only a story of pain, it is also a story of resilience, brilliance, and strength. From Harriet Tubman leading people to freedom, to Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat, to leaders, artists, scientists, and everyday people who refused to disappear despite the weight of injustice placed upon them. Marcus's story is not unique, but it matters. It reminds us that equality is not a favor to be granted, but a right that has always existed. That seeing humanity before skin color is not kindness, it is justice. And that until we listen to these stories, truly listen, the fear will continue to walk beside people who have done nothing wrong. But stories have power. They break silence. They build understanding. And sometimes they remind us that being human should never be a crime.